being real with it, the gym and martial arts brought me out my shell. Doing curls for the girls, all that rubbish, right? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares you're strong, nobody cares you've got nice muscles. Actually learn a skill, try and become an animal. Gym guys, loads of people think, oh, they're really confident. See, deep down, there's a self-conscious guy in that good physical looking person. He mentioned my niece. That broke me, and I says, I need to make a change here.
Hello and welcome to the HMF podcast powered by EK Boxing. Today I've got Richie Kerr with me, one of the head coaches at the gym. How you doing, big guy?
Good, my man. Good.
So, guys, we've not actually done a podcast in a wee while. So, what I want to do is just run through basically what the attack of the podcast is. Obviously, you can see the gloves at the table. So, HMF podcast stands for Health, Mindset, and Fitness. So what we're going to be doing is interview-based podcasts and bringing guys in like Richie boy here, and just trying to kind of tap into their background, things that they've went through, just to try and kind of help people as much as we can. So, let's kick things off then, big man.
We're here, we're ready to go.
Fresh out a PT client, straight into his podcast.
Hitting the sweat still.
Aye, so kind of new grounds for yourself as well, mate. But I wanted to bring you on the day because I think your kind of background, things you've went through and stuff like that would be really like...
Good partner as well.
The partner's not great, mate, to be fair. Just what you've went through, as I said, and things like that, how you've got here. I think the evolution from... like your working background to where you're at now as well is very inspirational to a lot of guys as well, and even just in the training aspect, because you've kind of been with us for the start, so it'll be good.
One of the
for
OGs.
People. Certainly, and it'll be good for people to hear the kind of like how you started the evolution of where you're at now, because really, mate, from where you've started, you're a completely different guy. See, if you think about it, where you're at right now, that's only literally happened over the last couple of months. It's not, you've been here 4 or 5 years or whatever, and just pennies kind of dropped a little bit over the years, more and more, and then the work thing and just all of them, mate. So I think we'll maybe kickstart things just with a wee bit of background about you, mate, and
definitely
your upbringing.
Cool upbringing. A loving mother and father, obviously. It wasn't the best at start, so I'll be truthful with that. Not to get real deep, but we're probably going to get deep here, don't we?
We leave that for a wee bit then, that's on the back burner. You teased us with that there, and we're no...
No, I mean, I'm pretty open about how things kind of started with myself. Like I had a really, really bad skin condition, really bad. I came out of the womb and, I was in intensive care and all that for a long period of time, about four months or so. So it was a tough start to life, to be honest, mate. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it was definitely hard for my parents when they seen me, and they seen me in quite a bad way for a wee baby, So I think that's why it's kind of give us a bit of toughness about me that I've went through something like that, and I can.
I think you're right, mate. It always does. You always need to go through something to kind of callous the mind, as we always say in it, and progress for there. So was that like right through then, like when you were at school and stuff like that as well, or did it?
Well, truthfully, school for me was a very tough one. A lot of the time I didn't show that I was in pain and I was struggling, all these things, but I was in quite a lot of pain when I would hear a lot of comments about my skin and stuff like that. It was playing on my mind. Sometimes I still think it does play on my mind, don't get me wrong. I feel like I'm a totally different person for back then, but if I'm being real with it, the gym and martial arts in general brought me out my shell majorly. You know what I mean?
Majorly. That hole, if you like. I think we're all the same, because we were literally talking there before we cracked on. Everybody's got a wee something that goes on with them, whether obviously, as you said, your skin condition. Me personally, I was like cripplingly shy, like when I was at school and getting into boxing, and that brought me out my shell. And I think kind of the purpose of the podcast is, I think sometimes people can look at somebody at the top of the mountain and forget obviously all the levels they've had to go through, like as they've progressed. So I think a big part of this is obviously for them to kind of hear your story and stuff like that, and everybody that comes on story and see that, look, wait a minute here, I'm not the only one going through something this guy's had to go through.
I see it with some of the young team as well, like I know a couple of them have been through stuff, and I can see the emotion, I can see the sadness in them, and sometimes that, for me anyway, that sadness actually spurs them on to be better boxers, better people.
I think if you can channel on something, it just
100%.
Otherwise, you
100%.
take it out yourself, type of thing. Yep. So, what was kind of school life like with that? Then was it like
low self-esteem, low confidence. I didn't really think a lot about myself, to be honest, mate.
What was a lot of that just in your own head type of thing, or was that?
No, it was just passing comments for people.
Just built up over time. A lot of that. And the guy that got me out that hole was actually my grandfather. Right. Guy that I've got this tattoo for. That was actually my next question. Who inspires you? Is it going to be?
Oh, major.
Your granddad? I knew it would
110%.
potentially be your granddad.
110%.
Tell us a wee bit about him.
He was a gem. He was like a kind of old school type, as you can tell with the tattoos. Very, very old school. And yeah, I think if I could be half a man of what he was, then I would be doing just fine. And I think that's why the gym lives took over for me.
Did he kind of get you into it then?
He was bodybuilding. He done quite a bit of bodybuilding, and he kind of brought me to the gym and kind of let me take that pain and channel it through a different way. And the gym was the way to go. And then eventually it turned to Thai, and all the rest of it went down the line of martial arts.
The man that's done a million sports, innit? Thai,
Jack all trades. What did they say? What did they say?
Master in none, mate. Thai and then judo, of course, as well, innit? Or was that was a bit later on? Did you start with us before you started? Like, how did you get into boxing and that as well?
So I was going to Billy's.
Aye, that's right. In fact,
your man,
Billy Leach, always mentioned in every
I know.
Boxing
I think if everybody started somewhere, it was 100% Billy's class. You know? Before you went out on a wee night out or whatever on a Friday night.
No, me yourself. That is, I stick to Billy's rules, mate. Billy's law. But, I know. But no, listen, as you said, mate. Definitely an inspiring guy, and I think you need folk like that. Obviously, you mentioned your granda. Billy's was at the time a really massive one in the community, mate, because there's not really many guys that are helping you kind of pour into your own cup type of thing, and Billy. Obviously had his way of doing it. He wasn't going to butter you up and give you a cuddle and things like that, but what he did really do is gave all of us somebody to look up to and be like, right, look at the shape this guy's in.
I'm thinking about back then how I perceived him. Even now it's the exact same way. It's not like, I don't know, like just back then I always thought this guy's so fit and so just physical for his age.
Totally idolise him. I think when you get somebody like that, what it kind of lets you start to do is I don't mean idolise yourself, but appreciate yourself more, because you see somebody like that, how much they appreciate themselves, the skill and level they're on, and you start thinking, well, I can get to that skill, I can get to that level of confidence, because he's a very confident guy, do you know what I mean, in that environment that we were in, and you just, even the people you're training alongside, they all kind of bounce off you, and you just build and your confidence.
I remember I'd be going to Billy's, and then I'd go out on the Friday night, and I was coming back for the night out on the Saturday, so I don't know, I was about 17 or something at this point, and I would just see a guy wearing a hat, all dressed in black, at blooming 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, and it's alright boys, and I was like, was that Billy? And he's just running like a madman.
You've got the jeans on and all fancy.
I whited in myself and all that, and not that bad. That was an hour night, I think.
No, but you're right, mate. That's actually, I think, a good painting maybe where you were at that time, where you were maybe 1 foot in with your boxing a wee bit, and you were out doing your nights out and stuff like that. And as you know now, mate, kind of looking back, because you spoke to me about it, like see like mentally and just physically how that makes you feel and stuff like that.
You can't party forever.
It's not actually a lifestyle I've like massively experienced. I've kind of dipped my toe in a tiny bit, and I was like, look, that's not for me. But I think it would be good for what are you going to say?
I'll not mention too much, just in case my mum's watching.
Too much about you. No, but listen, mate, it's certainly good for guys to hear. Different experiences folk have had. I think for me personally, I've always just been like at the boxing gym, so I've not really got much rapport with people that I've had. They've been drinking, they've been up, they've been down, and things like that. I think obviously, as you spoke to me about, that's kind of, I feel like where you'd been, you were training, but the there was more coming out than getting into the
major.
vessel, do you know what I mean? So
I mean, obviously we spoke about where we all started and done wee bits of everything, but I do think, as much as I've enjoyed the party and I've enjoyed everything else that comes with it, I think, see if I really applied myself at a younger age, what would I be like even then? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think now that I've kind of get rid of drink and everything else, that I'm just focused solely on training, and my training has just went 0 to 100. Like, even though I know over the last couple of months, I've took the external kind of martial arts out completely. You know, the judo, the jiu-jitsu, took all that away and just focused on boxing. And obviously,
so talk to us a wee bit about that. How did you get into judo? Was that through your work?
Well, there was a wee bit of that. So I started doing security when I was about 18, I think, for H&M. I was doing landscaping during the week, and then at the weekend I was doing security for H&M. So it was busy, but I kind of thought to myself, I can't actually fight. I can't. What am I going to do? What am I going to?
Security is a funny thing, in it, because obviously the bigger and harder you look, the perception is the better he is, the better he can fight. I don't know if you remember when Hin was in here, the old physio. He done security as well. Built like me. He's like a pure Bruce Lee like build, but because he's so small and that, nobody really thinks that kind of anything of him as well. So I
thought to myself, I actually would get my arse handed to me, like, off a lot of people, and I mean, I don't know what to do if I've got a hold of somebody. I don't know how to control somebody. I don't know any of these things. And I was talking to one of my work colleagues, and when I was speaking to him, I was like, sure, he done judo. And I will say, see, my first judo class, it was probably one of the most humbling experiences ever. So you go in with a white belt on, and you've got wee guys who are like black belts, and they're like 17. I'm looking, thinking to myself, oh, maybe I've walked into the wrong place here.
I think that's quite a big thing, mate, because as you know, folk are pretty nerve-wracked about coming in to your boxing gym, and I think when they come in and they start to see, right, well, the boxing's through there, and there's actually a PT studio here for me and the adults and stuff like that. That's why I really like doing this podcast, because it's less intimidating to click on it, listen to it, and kind of hear the guys that you're working with, because as much as Billy was really inspirational to us, we know that actually for a lot of folk it's very like intimidating and off-putting if you hear or see somebody like that. And like say when they come in here, it's almost the face I'm trying to put on, or the hat I'm trying to put on with you guys and the fighters. So it's just having a different kind of rapport and treatment for each person, and I guess kind of getting that out there, that's what we do as well. I think, like, for example, obviously we as folk come in, we do a wee inductions 1-to-1, the gym's empty, and then you see them when they come in, that relief. I thought there was going to be a guy spitting muscle out. No, it's doing this and doing that, and just kind of having that acceptance of, I wish I'd done this sooner. Do you know what I mean?
I think if anybody starts any sport as a beginner, even and they're older, even more respect them, because if you're younger, you can kind of catch it on the bounce a wee bit, and it's like, right,
get away with anything, you can take to anything, like, really easily.
But see if an older person comes in and they start and they're raw and they've never done it, and they maybe look at a younger person and they think, oh, they're a lot more experienced than what I'm in the sport. I think that's, well, it's very humbling for the person, but also more respect to them, I would say, because
I think that's probably what puts a lot of guys off. I think probably Craig's a good example. One of your guys, do you know what I mean? He's out running with the boys and stuff like that. Like, ridiculous how
that guy, man,
lost a crazy amount of weight, but on the flip side, another person can come in and not lose anything at all, and it just shows you that it's really down to the individual. If you want to, only lead the horse to water. Do you know what I mean? So, as you said, if you want it, you'll get it done. You know. So, how did you? We'll just kind of tell the audience a wee bit of how you get started, like with boxing and stuff like that as well.
Well, boxing, obviously.
That was a handsome chap you talked to. Make sure you let them know about that, mate. Right?
I need to remember that.
No, carry on, mate.
His name's the Sandman, just in case you're wondering. I think I actually approached you in Milwaukee. It was the town centre. I think I came up, and I'd been doing the judo about 1.5 years, 2 years or something at that point. I'd get a couple of belts up. I wasn't really feeling the anxiety of boxing. Like, I wasn't even feeling that fight environment. Like, as much as I love judo, I really do, I wasn't really feeling that animosity, the bit of testosterone. I feel like it was lacking that. So I heard, you know, in the wind somewhere that this guy was sorting a wee PT session, or we were starting up a class. I think it was PT at first, I'm sure I went with. And at that point, that was it.
Aye.
That was it. I've been here ever since, mate. I've been here ever since.
Aye. No, you certainly have, mate. Let's talk about the kind of evolution of that a wee bit as well, because obviously you've went through completely different chapters of training, and I think mentally is a big one as well, mate.
Yeah.
You're kind of like a different guy mentally now. I think obviously, as you alluded to a little bit earlier, like so many different things were pulling you in different directions.
Major.
Do you know what I mean? And you've maybe had to cut ties like with quite a lot of them. So I just really to kind of hear a wee bit more about that.
That's a big question, mate. There's loads in that wee bracket, but it was one of the ones really. I just obviously started working on myself more. Took myself out of comfortable situations and started putting myself in uncomfortable situations, and I just felt that I kept growing and growing and growing. As kind of cliche as it sounds, it does sound, though, we're talking about growth and mindset and all that, but that is essentially what's happened. Like, I want to be so uncomfortable now in whatever it is I'm doing. I don't want the easy route. And, you know, if we're talking about motivational speakers, you've got Mr. Goggins. It's listening to people like him that really change your mindset. You know, if you just kind of live a boring, mundane life, I don't want that. I want to do the hard stuff now. I don't want to do the easy option. The easy option is just sitting on your ass, watching Netflix, doing rubbish like that. I've no interest in that now. I want to better myself in whatever way I can. Anyway, if it helps people, if I better myself, I can afford to help other people then. Do you know what I mean?
You were kind of there though, weren't you? Like, beforehand. So what was it like before you were at boxing? Like, what was...
I think just loads of partying, hanging about with people that didn't really do anything for me, and people that weren't really bringing the best out in me.
Yeah.
And I kind of took myself away from those people, totally alienated myself for quite a few people, stuck to my kind of close pals, and the ones that were actually there for me. Those saying, see when the partying's over, who's there? Who's there?
Nobody, mate. No, you're right.
You know
I think as you said there, it's when you really invest your time in something like training or whatever, you tend to cut a lot of folk and things like off completely, and you sometimes you don't realise what's actually draining you till you go and involve yourself with an actual group that's really, do you know what I mean, on top of their game type of thing. So you were saying about obviously being in uncomfortable situations and things like that as well. What was that what it was like when you came to the gym? Like your kind of first time coming down, or
see, to be honest, actually, obviously it was round the corner there at the old Thai boxing gym that I was used to that kind of uncomfortable environment, but it was, for me, it was coming out of my comfort zone in the sense of, right, I'm strong, but I'm going to start concentrating on the things that I don't want to do, like cardio, fighting. Like, at the end of the day, fighting is a scary thing. I don't care what anybody says.
Mate.
See, when you're in front of everybody and everybody's shouting dogs abuse at you or whatever, you know, that's scary. And, you know, if MD does that at all, I totally respect them. So that's, in that sense, I think that's what I'm meaning. Like, coming away from the gym completely, that gym bro life, you know, lifting weights, doing curls for the girls, all that rubbish, right? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares you're strong. Nobody cares you've got nice muscles. Nobody really cares. Actually learn a skill and try and become an animal. You want to become an animal. You want to be a fighter. You want to be scary. You want to be masculine. Learn a fighting art. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learn a fighting art.
What would you say to folk? Obviously, that you'd mentioned there about fighting, like the scariness stuff like that, because they're all really intimidating things, aren't they? But when you probably see when you come in, it's actually the polar opposite. Do you know what I mean?
Major.
They're probably
major.
the nicest people that you meet, because their ego's so in check. Nobody's going to try and pounce on you or do this or that, because everybody knows how to fight. So it's the last thing, do you know what I mean, that everybody's going to do or try and do. I remember seeing that with one of the guys for UFC that was talking about. I can't mind his name. You'll chin me for it later, because it's an easy one as well. But he was saying that as well. Look, listen, when I'm out and I'm partying stuff, I actually feel uncomfortable in those environments and anxious, because so many different things can happen. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's ego's like really high or through the roof, and when I'm out with kind of guys on my same level, or I'm at training or whatever, everyone's trying to help each other. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the biggest thing. And even obviously you mentioned like the bodybuilding background, the biggest guy in the gym's not the nicest guy in the gym. Do you know what I mean? When you actually speak to him, but they're all very visually intimidating things. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite like a double-edged
sword. It's all a front
though.
It's all a front.
Yeah.
I mean, see, if I'm being real, see, when I was going through that time, that was probably my most self-conscious version of myself.
Aye, even though on the outside you're it's the opposite.
At the times, you know, I was getting people saying, "Oh, Richie, look at the size of you. What you've been doing? You've been on this. You've been on that." So I've not touched anything, and I didn't actually care about what people were saying. I just wanted to feel better myself.
Yeah,
like it wasn't about them, Dale.
Just chasing that thing that you're kind of never almost getting, if you like.
But I think people looking at all these gym guys, I think loads of people think, oh, they're really confident and all that. They're all, you know, they think so much of themselves.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. See deep down in there, there's a self-conscious guy in that really good physical looking person. They're all self-conscious. I'm sorry, most of them are all.
And I think as you said there, that's why, like, for us, so like, obviously HMF, health, mindset, fitness, like the 3 of the things that you need to be firing on all cylinders. Your fitness might be through the roof, but see if your mindset isn't right or mentally you're not right, whether it's like, I don't know, so you see some of the kids that come in here, they're really, really anxious. There's so many different walks come in the gym. Some are a bit low and depressed about things, and that's just kind of the nature of where they're at in that time spell. Some have got completely opposite, with like myself, just cripplingly shy, and the gym just kind of brings them out their shell a bit as well. So, it was just to see like in that kind of mindset aspect of things, like what.
Well, truthfully, if we're talking mental health, like I've improved massively through boxing. Boxing's like an actual almost saviour for me. Like that's the way I look at it. Martial arts in general, but amazing for mental health, because you know you're learning a skill and you feel like you're gaining something. It's not just I'm just doing this for the sake of it. I'm doing this to better myself. That's what I'm doing, and it gives you that satisfaction that you're actually doing something rather than just, like I say, pumping weights, whatever. But mentally, I feel like boxing and martial arts it's just a given. You just see if you do it.
Yeah.
You're going to feel so much better about yourself. Doesn't matter where you are as well. You could be down in the dumps, thinking, do you know what, this is it, I don't want to live anymore, blah, 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 blah. And then you start boxing, you start working on yourself, and you start going out running, and you start having laughs with the guys, you start talking away, you start opening up a wee bit. You know, you were saying obviously yourself that when you were a wee guy, you were really quite shy and closed off, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just guys in general, and I think when you go to a boxing club and it's almost like what, because folk always say you don't go to the pub, you don't do that, but it's almost like when you come into the boxing gym and you're talking to the boys and all that after training, that is that therapy time.
That's your pint. That's your pint.
That people are talking about, that is that therapy time where you're letting that wee bit of steam off. Do you know what I mean? There's boys in here, as I said to you, like, after training, and need to talk about X, Y, and Z, or they're feeling this or that's going on. I think it's important to have that kind of community and network, because as you said, mate, when you're out drinking, you're doing X, Y, and Z, they're not really the guys or girls to be kind of letting steam off on in that regard, and to help you kind of unload on things. I think
at the end of the day, like, see when people they go out partying and they're in that kind of same routine every weekend where they're getting on it, they're taking drugs, they're going to be hung as a woman, they're just doing that repetitive thing, you know, they're not actually happy. But the issue is, it'll take it away for a period of time, all the thoughts and all the worries and all the anxiety. It
just comes back.
But see when they're hungover, that's when it's crying for help time. Yep. And it's who's here? Well, none of my mates are here. Because they don't give a shit, because they're too busy hungover themselves.
Yeah.
See, when you take that away, you start dealing with your own problems individually rather than drowning them. You start wanting to live and get a better purpose basically in life, rather than I'm just going to do the same shit, the same people every weekend.
I think
going to a pub and it's the same people.
It's hard for people to branch off on it, and to for me, I guess when you change the community that you're in, do you know what I mean? That helps you level up. So the message isn't right to be getting on it this weekend. It's right. We've got men's mental health 10K this Sunday.
Yeah.
Like that becomes the conversations. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to, right, you as I said, are we getting on it? Are we doing this? Who's doing that? It's like more productive, more beneficial to you and everybody around you. And when you're at that level, all you want to do is help everybody else up the ladder. Do you know what I mean? Major. As you know yourself, which kind of leads me on to my next question, which is obviously you kind of get into coaching as well with us, and that is really your focus now, is helping the other guys up the ladder after obviously kind of getting yourself sorted first.
I think when you help other people, that's probably one of the best satisfactions you'll ever have in life.
Rewarding, isn't it?
See, like my old judo coach is just retired there, and he was honestly one of the he's just retired, right? One of the best guys I know, and I seen the happiness that coaching brought him, and now that I'm helping people and doing wee bits, not only has it helped my boxing get better, and I'm starting to see things through different perspectives now, the happiness it brings you is incredible. The happiness of maybe helping somebody with something or getting their weight loss done or whatever it is. That's just amazing. It's definitely the best job.
If you've got any clients see that you're kind of working with, things that they've got through, obviously we don't need to go into names and things like that, but Craig, obviously I mentioned, which I think was a good one. The reason I mentioned his name is because he's obviously made a phenomenal change. I know on the other end of the spectrum, some guys came for X, Y and Z and they've come in, because that's the main experience I have, as I said, is probably through clients in a lot of those regards, because for me I've just always been kept on the straight and narrow. I've just been really lucky with Billy Leach, then Blantyre boxing, and I'm just always around a tight unit, but I've seen folk come from different backgrounds, similar to yourself, and they've never had that. Do you know what I mean? They've never had that community. As you said, we had the gym, but we never had the network. Do you know what I mean? The network of guys to reverberate off and bounce, and bounce your way up the ladder.
I think, in recent times, it's 100% Craig. That man's made a big shift in his life. It turned from I can't. Loads and loads of I can'ts, I'll never, I won't, I don't think I'll ever do this won't ever happen, to I'm going to do it, give me another rep, I want more, I want to get running.
You sort of hill walking in that ways as well, weren't you? He's taking
see the amount of times he thought, I'm going to get up here, and I'm like, no you're not. I'll actually get angry with somebody because I know they've got it in them so that they do it. I'll never forget about somebody just because they're maybe having a tough day and they're maybe not getting through that workout, they're maybe not getting through that walk or whatever it is. Whatever it could be, mental health or whatever. And I'll get annoyed with them and I'm like, you will do that because I know you've got it in you. I can see it in you. You just need to see it in yourself.
Because you've been there as well. Do you know what I mean? It's almost just it's the same chapter over and over again. Like with people that you see coming in the door, and as I said, same with myself. I'm obviously not really. You've stolen my clients. That's basically what's happened. So I'm not really PTing anymore. I just train the.
You live through me.
Just train the fighters. But that's why I really wanted to kind of delve into doing this podcast, just to sort of reach out to people, kind of give them a bit more of an understanding as to what we do, because it's not just come in, hit a bag, go and have a fight and that's it. Some guys in here aren't even going to fight, as you know. Some of them are never going to even spar. They're just in for literally the health side of things. Some of them listen to the podcast when we done it originally, just for the mindset side of things, and obviously we've got loads of guys in here for the general fitness side of things as well. I guess that's our kind of main audience that we're trying to reach just now, because a lot of them are the conversation when they come in doing induction is, listen, it took me 9 months to book this. Do you know what I mean? Just because I was doing it, then I wasn't, and I always speak to you because I've always boxed, so I've not got a lot of experience in that regard, but I always say to you, like, I've just started trying to play golf or whatever, something silly or dirt biking or whatever it is. And I'm really self-conscious. You're really self-conscious or really worried about this or that, and you start to realise when you're out there, nobody's even bothered about anything. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that and work and life and so many different scenarios, and folk are just stuck in their lane where they're worried that people are going to get on their chest if they change lane. Do you know what I mean? So
I think a lot of people, even just coming into the gym, in fact especially coming into the gym, is the self-consciousness of, I'm in the gym, everybody's going
to
care about me.
Think X, Y, and Z.
Everybody's going to worry about me.
Going to other gyms, I feel like I'm still like that now. Like going to other gym, even with you guys, I think it's just that anxiety of a new environment. I think it's just a natural human feeling to feel.
Everybody's watching.
It's just like even when you're boxing, which we'll go into in a wee second about your first amateur bout, but it's like those feelings. I think you learn how to deal with them like through training. Doesn't need to be specifically boxing, just through training and exercise, because you're learning how to push through failure, you're learning how to deal with failure, assess it, like all of these things. So I think when people have not got those mental building blocks, it's very difficult for them to compute something. Like, for example, if I've just been sacked from my job, somebody will look at that and say, right, okay, well, that's a new opportunity to do X, Y, Z, and somebody will look at it and say, listen, that's my life. I'm over. Aye, that's everything over. So it's just, I think through training and exercise and things like that, it helps you identify like how to deal with things a lot easier. Because that's a big thing for me. Where if you've been doing it for so long and you've built up so many mental blocks, sometimes it's hard to relate to people. Where you're like, right, this gate's locked or whatever. Right, we'll open it and let's go. Do you know what I mean? It's just so simple for me, but. Sometimes you need to obviously attack things a little bit slower, like with each individual. You probably experienced that yourself, like with clients in the gym. It can't be that aggressive down your throat, right, 100 burpees type of thing. Do you know what I mean? Some clients, when we're in, you're talking more than you're actually doing training, and that's just what they needed on that day. And I guess that's a big thing, like for folk to understand as well.
It needs to be a gradual build up with people. You can't go 0 to 100 with people who haven't been training very long. Like
I think that happens a lot though, doesn't it? Like folk go to a gym, right, I get put in, I done 10 rounds, or even in a non-box, we hear that in boxing of course, but even in a non-boxing regard, I was lifting 200 kilos a day. That was my first time. I don't know how to do this. It put me off and I'm not doing it again. Do you know what I mean? And I understand that feeling more so for myself and like in a business investment regard. If you make a bad investment and you've lost money on that, it's like, why am I going to do it again with somebody else? So it's really difficult. I understand for people to go, right, well, I'm going to try it again. Do you know what I mean? Get up off the bike and try it again. Especially the older you get more kind of set in your ways, less likely to bend with the wind a wee bit and try things, you know?
It's a bit of stupidity and the ego. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think you're going to go to any gym and do 10 rounds with maybe, I don't know, like a champion of some sort, like, come on, catch a grip.
It's too much, but at the same time, a lot of folk are getting dragged into that. It's not even them, do you know what I mean? They'll get dragged into different environments like that. You'll see it yourself, you know, once you're in, you've experienced it in here. Anything that your coach says, you're going to say, aye, all right. Let's just do that then, do you know what I mean?
It's Anthony Joshua at the door.
But you know, you're almost peer pressured into things like that, and it's almost like that in life as well, because I see that with folk, like with our work and stuff like that. We've spoke about it, right? I can't go to boxing anymore because, listen, I need to do overtime now, and that's just what I need to do. I don't get paid for it, but that's what I need to do because I'm running this company and
don't even, that's giving me anxiety talking about that shit.
So, but let's maybe kind of attack that last wee chapter, because obviously you, as I said, you started your coaching and stuff like that, and with us before you were doing your security, and then I think you were in next door as well and stuff like that. After look at the face here, look at the face on the guy here. But no, on a serious note, mate, because there's on a serious
note, any extra sparring, mate.
But there's a lot of folk that are stuck in that same rat race that you were in. You mentioned you spoke to me when you were working up at the centre, grabbed me, look, I want to do class, blah blah blah. That was it. And over the course of years, I remember having a conversation with you, and I'd already spoke to my dad or somebody before it. They'd say, look, speak to Richie, see if he'll come in, help out with coaching, or if he's interested in coaching. I was like, no, listen, he's getting locked into the ground. Do you know what I mean? He's not got a second.
He's a robot.
He's stressed out. He's not. There's no way he's not even making training. Do you know what I mean? Never mind anything else. So, but listen, a lot of people, as you know, mate, as much as we're laughing there, are literally stuck in that rut. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, right, I can't leave this. I need to stick with this.
It's easy done. It's easy done, innit?
Aye, and it just builds up. Do you know what I mean? So obviously yourself, as I said, you've been working away. Even when I spoke to you as well, I was like, right, Richie, go full time with this. You're like, this wee guy here, he can't know. It was probably
too scared.
It was probably worse back in the day when we never had the facility, because it's like, right, well, what are we doing? Do you know what I mean? But
what did we see? There's not to see.
But no, I think obviously it was a massive move for yourself, and I think that's one that I'd like to kind of like close on, type of thing. Like what was happening with you when you were working, and where you're at now, mate? Because as you said, I actually seen it the other day. You're going to laugh at me when I said it the other week. I think you put a video up and said, "Listen, I completely love my life." And brilliant. I got exactly what you meant. It's just because you've got that level of freedom now. You're working for yourself. You're doing what you want. You're running off your own clock. Nobody's phoning you saying, right, this is when you can eat your lunch and this is what time you can do a pee at. Do you know what I mean? So I just want to kind of finish on that last wee chapter, mate, of just your work environment, where that put you mentally and physically, because I think you weren't in a great spot with that as well.
Worst I've ever been.
And we know many guys like that. Versus obviously where you're at just now. Do you know what I mean? So I just want to kind of close off with like how that, where you were at. Do you know what I mean? What was going on? Where you were at? What was happening? Because I can remember the rushing about, the missing training, or I was coming in an hour late. You get your high vis on. I had to do this at work today. Things that have left you with mental scars almost as well. Do you know what I mean? So. I just really want to close on that note, mate, of kind of your past work and where you're at now.
I mean, I even think just the stress levels of that, trying to have a normal personal life, but you're trying to juggle a work life like that, where it is so fast paced, you know. I remember even back in security days, like, I feel like if you want to branch out and you don't want to be confined, you need to get into that uncomfortable situation of, I don't want this life anymore. I remember, and I was quite close to my boss in security, and I remember actually basically being in tears, to be honest with you, right? I'll be real, like, you know, it's normal. It's normal when you're in that uncomfortable position and you're not happy and you feel like you're stuck in a bad place.
That is a big feeling, mate. That feeling like you're stuck is a big one.
And it was a stuck. I had to do, you know, those wee trials of, right, I'm going part-time with the coaching, right, I'm working for a job I don't really like to get to where I am now. Yeah. It was hard, that initial, like, some of the past 2 years was actually really hard, like even the last 2 years, to build myself up to work towards a life I don't want a holiday from. Know what I mean? Like, that's probably a good way to look at it. Like, I see people, they're working for the weekend. I don't want that. I want to work and feel like I'm on holiday all the time, and that's the way this life is now. Whereas before, everything was very tense. Everything was stressed, and I didn't know if I was coming or going. I wasn't eating at times, and all this, you know. And I knew I had to make a move when I was in security. Then I had to make a move when I was like doing part-time coaching stuff in here. Yeah. And then I was next door and I was run off my feet. I knew those two moments where I had a discussion with my old security boss, and, you know, he mentioned something about one of my family members, and it, you know, it hurt. He said I was having that bad a time when I was thinking about very dark thoughts. And I'll be real. And he mentioned my niece, for example, and that broke me. And I says, I need to make a change here. I can't have this moment ever again. Like, he said, just imagine what your niece would be like if she didn't have your uncle. And that was the tough statement. And then I think probably the next conversation that was the hard one was yourself. Like, you don't need that place in there and all the rest of it. And you know, this is the life you've been building. You know, I didn't think you would leave the job in security. You've now got yourself to this place. Let's try and get yourself to the next place. Because if you stay in this place, you're going to be even worse, because it was so coming and going, and the stress levels were high, and blah 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 blah. But I definitely think that hardship actually made me realise how good this life is. You know what I mean? It's like two separate ones.
You're right, mate. Sometimes you do need to go through those things where it's obviously, we mentioned earlier, folk smoking and drinking, things like that. Sometimes you need to be burnt to not touch the stove, as we always say, mate. And the boys in here, we all have a laugh and joke about it. They're all the same. They're the teenagers are going through that wee spell where they're drifting off with another group. Right, okay, this isn't the right thing. I'm back here again. Do you know what I mean? And they come back with their tail in between their legs. But listen, it's the only way to learn in life, as you know. There's so many aspects for all of us. We're all guys. I might say something to you, and then you go do the wrong thing. doesn't work right, he knows what he's talking about. But that's how you build a bit of rapport up with guys as well, and you have that belief in them. Even the same, obviously, you mentioned like with your job. It's all great and well, me sitting here saying, right, just drop that job next door, or drop the security job and
scary.
Do this and that. It's a very terrifying thing. And I was speaking to my dad about it the other day, because I was like, it actually reminds me, because I've not got a lot of like the same feeling like with that, so I try and obviously think of different scenarios where I would be in that situation. So it's like if you're at school and someone said to you to leave school in second year, that's what it feels like. It's like, that can't be right.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Aye, that can't be right. And go where? What do I do? And how do I do this? How do I open a company? And like all these different things, mate. It's very overwhelming, because as you know, it's not really anything that we get taught in school at all. Like
you're probably a lot different than what I am, but I mean, I suppose it's kind of similar to a fight. You get those pre-match nerves, don't you?
Yeah.
Where
aye.
You're like, do I stay or do I go?
Aye.
Do I jump the ring head first or do I run away?
Yeah.
You get that flight or fight moment, and it's
right,
battering off. You know,
it's exactly what it is, and I think a lot of people do get that fright, if you like, almost, where it's just like I'll just stay. I'll no jump, or I'll no cross this bridge. I'm just going to stay right here and go with that. But people need to live their lives and enjoy it as much as they can. As I said, whether it's through just letting a wee bit of steam off initially, just a wee training session, because that's a big thing. You see folk come in here and hit a bag and totally de-stress. They want in a bag, and you actually can't believe how much they've been holding on. Do you know what I mean? When you see them with something like that. So no, mate, listen, that was very, very interesting. Hopefully it's going to kind of inspire a few folk and stuff like that as well. I don't know if you've got any more questions. You got any for me? No, nothing for me.
So what's next for the Sandman then? What's next?
I'm
just on my motorbike, Richie. That's all I'm on.
I'm the host, mate, so no questions back at me. But no, listen, mate, thanks very much. That was good. Hopefully someone can take a wee bit from that. I think doing the podcast is a really good one, because it is very intimidating. It is like 69 months for folk brewing it in their head whether they're going to come down here or not, or to any gym, because that's really what the inspiration is. It's not that you need to come to us, we're good. I just want to kind of reach out to as many people as possible and try and help them and inspire them, whether it's in the smallest way possible, or it's like, say, your clients that we mentioned, changing their full life. You know what I mean? And yourself as well, because that's really the best way to think
if you're uncomfortable, for leaving on a note, if you're uncomfortable with something,
take stage in.
If you're uncomfortable with something, you should do it.
Yeah,
you should 100% do it. If it's scary, jump. That's what I think. Aye. Unless it's a bungee jump.
That's the next one. Charity bungee jump. We'll close it on that note. Men's mental health 10k. These are all the things that your man here's up to now, as opposed to his old antics. So no, we'll leave it at that, and thanks very much for listening.
Cheers, guys.